impressions on this trailer, which I just saw for Mufasa, the Lion King. Now, I will say, so I have seen the first one, kind of the original Lion King, or not the original Lion King and the new sort of more the CGI Lion King. Some people are calling it live action, but it's not live action. The trailer, it just came out, and one thing that I do like about, I like the visuals. Like I'm not bothered by the realistic approach or the uncanny valley. Like that doesn't really bother me. I don't mind the uncanny valley. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I think there may be a bias. Like we may be, people, the uncanny valley, to explain what that is, the uncanny valley is when something looks sort of creepy or weird when it is in CGI, when it's too realistic. And so some people don't like it. They think that it should be a little more cartoonish, which is partially the reason why a lot of the kind of the Pixar movies, they tend to be cartoonized, right? Like their expressions and everything has to be very, it can't be too realistic, because otherwise, if you have realistic, if you're too realistic and then you do something crazy, it kind of, I don't know, it makes people feel like that could happen to them. I think maybe that's what the uncanny valley is about. So it's kind of like if you were looking at a picture of a regular person, a regular human, and then all of a sudden, it does something that you don't expect it to do. Maybe that's what the uncanny valley is about. So it, or if you twist in a certain way that you normally wouldn't, that would be weird in a human, but if it's in a cartoon form, we kind of accept it, which is interesting. Now, and with regards to this film, it does look like their facial features are more, sort of a little more cartoonized compared to the last, the last Lion King movie. And so I can see that. Now, as far as this trailer, so I noticed that they have made the lions, they're very playful, right? And the thing is, now we know how Simba was, and he was very playful too, and also was kind of a troublemaker. And it looks like these, lions are probably going to be mischievous too. Now, the one thing that I will say, and I kind of wish that Hollywood, this could be not just a Disney thing, but just a Hollywood thing, where kids are always mischievous, and not always, but a lot of times I've noticed that, particularly with, at least with this film, that the kids tend to be sort of mischievous, and it's true that, I guess, but all, different, I wish that, they would portray young people differently and not necessarily in the same way, because sometimes, when you look at Mufasa, right? So which one's Mufasa? I can't remember, but I'm assuming this one's Mufasa maybe, and this one's Taka or Scar. And the thing is, Mufasa in the movie, right? He's very careful in the original film. Very careful, very... now, let's also keep in mind that this... I was going to say... before I say... okay, let's just keep with Lion King. So with Mufasa, right? His personality is very relaxed. In the original film, his personality was more protective and careful, right? Like he was always... And I wonder if, that's a character trait that I think is a human character trait. I sometimes feel like Hollywood... And maybe our culture at large tends to think that we all kind of follow the same path. And I don't think that's true. I think some people are more careful and some people are more mischievous, and some people are louder and some people are quieter. We're not all meant to be the same. And certainly, to me, I always felt like Mufasa as a character, as a character trait, he was more careful, and so it would make more sense if, as a young person, a younger version of Mufasa would be careful as well. I think that would have kind of fit in a little more. And also the fact that, as we can see, Mufasa in the original 1995 animated film, he was, I wouldn't say that he was jokesy, you know what I mean? He was very serious. He took himself seriously. And, some people might argue that, well, people change, when they become a leader or king, but I don't know that that's true. I don't think people change that much, to be honest with you. I think that, people who are playful will be playful even if they're kings, and people who take things seriously are going to be serious. And then people who don't, will be different. And so for I don't know, I sometimes feel, I guess what I'm trying to say is that because of the way this film is kind of portraying everyone as if all children or all young people are going to be mischievous and are going to be sort of playful, right? Like just like Simba was. But I don't think that's, I don't know. I would have preferred, I don't necessarily agree with it. Now, of course, for the sake of this film, of course, we're going to take it, right? So I'm not going to, obviously for this film, we have to, that's how the film is, right? So we can't change that. But I'm just saying as a matter of just trying to understand that, when young people, they have different personalities, and some people are quieter and they'll always be quiet, unless, because sometimes people change, but most people don't change, and people who are, typically speaking, most people don't change. For the most part, their personality kind of stays with them, And some people, they think things too much, and some people, they worry a lot, and some people are playful, and some people are not, and they never will be playful. And so to me, Mufasa, if I would have made it, I would have said that Mufasa would have been quiet. And see, I would like to see more of that. Like, and historically, right, when you see other films like The Addams Family, or what would be another movie, like The Addams Family, or any film where a lot of the Lemony Snicket, well, that's a book, but I mean, a lot of the books, obviously, the young people are portrayed better in books, believe it or not, because there's more variety. If you notice, with books, they'll portray all kinds of young people and personalities, because every person is different. And I feel like a lot of these Disney movies lately, they've all been kind of, playful, and, there's like a specific way of behaving that they all kind of take on, and that they're all playful and kind of jokesy, almost like they're, like, they may be acting a little too young, to be honest with you, because I don't know, I mean, most, by the time middle school hits, or, well, this looks like it would happen before, but like, there's actually an age where most young people give up their playfulness, believe it or not. And it happens fairly quickly. And I think sometimes adults are a little off. They are out of touch. And that affects the art. And so too often, you need to look back at how you were when you were younger and compare yourself. And I think people will realize that it's, people become out of touch as they become older. They forget what it's like. I think, because I don't know how else, why else this would happen. And so typically, and the other thing too is that, parents tend to have a skewed view of their offspring, because the offspring doesn't show you everything. Do you know what I mean? They don't show you. So you don't get, the parent does not get the full personality of, because they don't show you it, of course. So you get a limit. And I noticed that a lot of parents, they're out of touch with how actual young people behave. And I think that might affect the film industry as a whole. And what I'm talking about, which is this idea that it's not really, I don't feel like it's realistic, and I don't think it captures fully how the variety of young people that there are, and also how intelligent, once, it happens, different people obviously evolve, or not evolve, but like different people grow at different paces. So when people grow in different paces, that means that there's not going to be the same trajectory for every person. And that so you might meet one young person at a certain age who reaches a certain, they have a limitation, I guess. I don't know. Everyone is limited, and everyone also, in terms of, everyone is different, basically. But generally speaking, I think most humans will reach a certain level of development where they recognize themselves and the world around them, and they understand everything, so to speak. But that's not all humans. Not all. Believe me, that is not all humans. Not all humans reach that. So just because you see an adult, do not assume that they know everything. Most of them do, for the most part, but not. Again, we're all different, and that's not. I don't know. There's a variety of reasons, but generally speaking, everyone is different, and so everyone's personality is different, and that doesn't have to be a bad thing. And I think in films, it would be interesting if there's a little more variety, because in this case, they decided to make them playful, and not all. I guess I'm just saying, I'm not trying to change this movie, obviously, because this movie is what it is. So, but I just kind of wish that there was more. I don't know. I don't want people to assume, I guess, that this is what that this is just how every single personality shapes up. And also, like I said, I think it's relevant to say this because there's an expectation here. Like I said, with Mufasa, Mufasa in the first 1995 film, he was a certain way, and so I would have expected if I had seen a younger version of Mufasa, it would have been more careful and the same traits, because and I'm just using myself, and others that I know, that there are certain things inside of you that come from within, that are deeply embedded, that become a part of your personality and affect everything about your personality. Some people just like to go out and do things, and that's part of their personality. And then other people are super careful. And I feel like Mufasa would have been a careful person. You don't just become a careful person like that. Just because someone's position changes, I don't think their personality changes. And that's a trait. Now, some people would say that being careful means that, it's a weakness, right? But I don't see it that way. Some people think, well, being courageous means that means you're going to succeed more. Not necessarily. Because, you're courageous, that means you might get into more trouble. So it's possible. I believe that different types of people can succeed. And so in the case of the original Mufasa, you could tell that he was kind of a worrywart and a little bit of a very overly careful, right? And very rules-oriented. Something that we would want to have portrayed, and as something that would certainly that a younger person can have. I don't think people realize that not all young people require. People seem to assume, now obviously there's a certain level of discipline that has to be learned, but there are certain character traits that make it easier for some people to get that discipline, because if somebody is overly careful, they're going to be overly careful. They're going to be scared and do things. And so easily, in their minds, they might easily be able to do certain things. And what that means is that when you, depending on what personality you have, it's going to affect what you do. So if your personality is a little more outgoing, it's going to make certain things easier for you, but then it's going to make other things hard for you. So if you are careful, it makes it easier for you to follow rules, but then it also makes it easier for you to be, sometimes you can be too careful, right? Sometimes, being too careful, everyone loses, is what I'm saying. Like this idea, for some reason, Hollywood and our society sometimes has this idea that it's better, right? If I say to you, what's better, having courage or being super careful? Most people would say having courage, right? But I think there is no right answer. I think they're both valid. And I think if you choose to be courageous, then you're going to take risks that involve getting hurt, or right? Because if you're courageous, that also means, there's a weakness to it. Okay, you're exposing yourself to the elements. And likewise, if you're careful, you're going to lose a lot of opportunities. But you're going to be more careful. You're going to have more chances to stay in the long run. And so it really is about, which do you want? Do you want to be more courageous and outgoing, or do you want to be more careful and lose out on opportunities, but possibly get opportunities through patience? And because the universe rewards both, I believe that both succeed. That's why I'm saying there's not one way to success. You can succeed in both ways, and you will find people in life that succeed in different ways. And one of the things the reason why I'm talking about this is because our society seems to think it's better to be strong than weak. It's better to be courageous than too careful. It's better than cowardly, or whatever you want to call it. It's even the word, right? Even the words cowardly is the word we use. But actually, why don't we use the word carefulness, right? Instead of cowardly, right? Carefulness is cowardly. And that's kind of what Mufasa was in the first film. Super careful. And so that's why it got me thinking about this, because, why does it have to be a bad thing? I wish that there was a greater consciousness about this issue, because there are different, it's not one size fit all. And in reality, it's not like there's a right answer or a wrong answer. And so often our movies, and even like in schools, they try to teach you, hey, we got to be courageous. You have to be this. And in some ways that's true, but also you can also succeed through being careful. And certain people, they're going to do it anyway. But I just wish that was expressed more often, or that was acknowledged, right? And what's weird is that even in our society, right, even when they do, because you look at stories, believe it or not, most stories actually encourage you to do sort of the softer skills, the things that go against our greater society, right? Most of our greater society, they teach us, hey, we have to be courageous. You got to be a go-getter. You have to, you have to be a leader, right? Because at the end of the day, this is about a leader, Mufasa. And it's weird because, it's a weird juxtaposition that Mufasa, who was the leader, happened to be so careful. It's like the opposite of what you would think a leader would be. That's what made Mufasa so interesting as a character in the original film, was that Mufasa was extremely careful. And so, now this is kind of a topic, I guess, that this trailer has kind of inspired within me, but obviously that's not, I think it's probably unfair for me to, if I were to get to the film, like obviously when we watch the film, we'll be able to see exactly what they were going for. And it looks to me like they are being playful, so we're just going to I'm going to go with it, obviously. But I'm just talking about this because, I felt like I wanted to, I don't know, I was inspired to talk about this, but really, when I think about this, we have to kind of see the film as it is, right? And take it, and as it is, I think it's very interesting. So I already see, like, we're seeing that, they're going to be friends, right? Like, this is kind of a funny little picture. They look a little too friendly, a little too human, right? Like, I'm pretty sure cats or lions would not, be smiling like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that their mouths curl like that, but it just looks cute, right? Like, it looks kind of funny. So this is where they're taking liberties here. And like I said, it looks pretty good. Now, but the thing is, it looks a little too, I don't know. I don't even know if obviously I love the story that it's trying to tell. Okay, so let's talk about the originality. So first off, I think this film is kind of separate. So obviously this is based on the second Lion King, the Lion King that came out, the live action, quote unquote, live Lion King. So it's not based on so it's a different story, I guess, if you want to say it. It doesn't really match up with the original 1995 Lion King film. And here's the thing. So I think, so I don't necessarily, I don't necessarily see this as the prequel to the original film, because, well, for a few reasons. A, because it's based on the live action Lion King, but also the other reason why I think it shouldn't be is because, it wasn't really made by the same creators. And so I don't think it's fair to, even though the Lion King was produced in a collaborative way, but I think it's important to sort of respect the original visionaries or the original creators of the film, or at least even if it's not possible, because I know that not all stories are written that way, because a lot of them is collaborative. A lot of the things that Disney does, like Toy Story or The Lion King, it's collaborative. It's like 100 people kind of all pitching in ideas, at least from what I understand. And so when you look at it that way, it means that these films, it's kind of hard, I guess, to say like who is the creator, right? Who is a lot of it, and obviously it's a formula that works really well because they have produced a lot of interesting films using this method. So it's certainly, it's a successful way to do it, but it also makes it so that there's not really one person that you can give credit to creating the story. And I'm glad that The Lion King was kind of an original story, even though it was heavily based on like Shakespeare themes and other themes. And this film, I love that they're kind of building it up, right? They're building kind of this, this kind of tragedy, but in order to have the tragedy, you have to have these soft moments. And I like where it's going. So I like that it's like a roller coaster. It's going to take us on a high, and then I assume there's going to be lows, and I like that. So this is pretty good, actually. Like, and so now when I look at this film, I don't necessarily see it as a prequel to the original film. I think this is kind of a separate world, but it's using the same characters. Now, of course, because so that's how I see it anyway. So it's kind of a different film. I'm not, I don't necessarily see this as connected to the original Mufasa, so from 1995. So that's, but that's just, how I see it. But I think even so, treating this as a separate world and a separate universe with a different storyline, I still like it for what it is, right? It looks interesting. It looks like they're going to be, I like that they're trying something new. At least let's give them credit. At least it's not a complete remake, right? They're attempting to make a prequel, and it looks like they are trying out a lot of new things. And it looks pretty good, actually. I actually do. Okay, it looks like they're there. Yeah, they're trying out new things, and that makes it interesting. And anything original is, has to be celebrated. And I think this is a great example of Disney sort of, they're trying something new. And this is a white lion. We did not have a white lion in the original Lion King, but we'll see how this works. I don't know if the original, I don't know if lions are, white like that, or if there's a reason behind it. And that is Rafiki. I don't remember this. Now the music seems really good. I think the music, you can hear it in the trailer. And again, it's an original soundtrack. It's not similar. It's not made by Elton John, so it's not going to be, it's not going to be that in that style. But you can see that, again, they're creating original music and original storyline, and I like that. Like I said, it's good. It's good to see something new. And this is Timon. I don't remember. I've seen the first the live action movie, but I don't remember it too well. I didn't pay attention too much, I guess, when I watched it. So this, as we look through this, okay, that's the last picture. So it's Mufasa. I think I've said a lot of the things that I wanted to say. I really think this film has, I like the vistas. I like all of the that they're trying out new things. I also enjoyed, like I said, a lot of the kind of the sort of ideas that were going through my mind about what I thought Mufasa would be, and and how I thought it was different from, because I always saw Mufasa as a little more serious, but this film is different, and but once again, I think whenever you're dealing with time and different sort of what happens over time and how people interact, that makes it so that there's always so many ways that it could go, and so the way I look at it is the more variety, the better. And so I guess the overall theme that I was trying to say is that I think that Hollywood should try to just, you don't have to say the same story every time. There are different ways to succeed. It doesn't have to always be like, oh yeah, the courageous person always wins, or, because there are other ways to win too. And so I think that's something that a lot of stories actually, that there are so many stories that are left to be untold, that are untold, that are left, that are yet to be told. And that's something that there's so much, when people say, well, we've ran out of ideas, we're not anywhere near running out of ideas. We so many stories that haven't been told. And so, yeah, I encourage people to really, instead of modeling yourself after, your favorite movie stars or what you've seen in movies, kind of, rethink and try realizing that, maybe it's not like the movies say, or maybe, maybe it could be a different way. Maybe it doesn't have to, we don't have to, I don't necessarily believe in kind of I think we should move beyond the archetypes and kind of try to see the different ways in which humans can succeed in life, and different ways of looking at the world. So anyway, it looks like a good film, and I hope I don't know, what do you all think about this? Hope you enjoyed this, and if you want more content, then please, you can subscribe, and I will see you all later. Thank you.